The Cowboy Way is 2 ounces worth of movie in a 10-gallon hat. So check your brain at the door, but catch this bus, for Action Speed is one of those movies that owns the road. Is there a point where you say, if I hear the theme song of the Flintstones one more time, I'm just going to blow up?
No, that happened a year ago, but I'm okay now.
Chocolate bars, color film, sheets and blankets, all designed to make sure that you eat, sleep, and drink the movie. The Lion King is a genuinely entertaining 90 minutes, but it is also a film with flaws and claws. The proof of love is in the letting go.
Did you read that?
Lucy Mohl is here to give us the rundown.
Dang, you know, I always miss Best Supporting Actress. It just kills me. Otherwise, the awards went off like clockwork, even if the show seemed to take forever sometimes before it suddenly caught fire.
And the Oscar for the Best Picture of 1993 goes to Schindler's List. Steven Spielberg, Gerald Mohl, and Branko.
I have friends who have won this before. And I swear, I have never held one before. This is the first time I've ever had one of these in my hand.
Steven Spielberg finally got to say his thanks before the Academy as he won Best Director, and Schindler's List was honored with 7 Academy Awards. Everyone else spent the evening thanking Steven or trying to stay awake through most of the program. The starring performances came from the winners themselves. Tommy Lee Jones, Best Supporting Actor for The Fugitive, with the worst supporting haircut. Anna Paquin, the 11-year-old Best Supporting Actress for The Piano, so surprised by the honor she didn't even prepare a speech. Best Actress Holly Hunter, also for The Piano, kept it simple and sweet.
Thank you all so much for letting this movie in, and thanks.
One of the stirring moments of the evening came from Tom Hanks. The star of Philadelphia gave an impassioned thank you speech about AIDS.
I wish my babies could have the same sort of teacher, the same sort of friends. And there lies my dilemma here tonight. I know that my work, in this case, is magnified by the fact that the streets of heaven are too crowded with angels.
There were many tears this Oscar night, but no great laugh-out-loud moments and no really strange dresses. It was, for the Academy anyway, one classy evening. And because if you're going to watch an award show for 3 hours plus, you have to do something, so let us note, for the record, there were 2 Frank Sinatra jokes, 4 breast jokes, and 10 people who climbed up on stage to say thank you to Steven Spielberg.
It was his big night, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and you could just feel that it was everything he'd been waiting for. He touched it. There it was. He had it.
No big political statements tonight. Everyone on their best behavior.
They got those out of the way in the first 5 minutes. Extraordinary events do happen. One German businessman spends his fortune to save the lives of over 1,000 Jews during World War II. And one filmmaker, at the height of his success, creates a masterpiece out of that story, Schindler's List. Oskar Schindler was an unlikely angel. In Liam Neeson's magnificent performance, he's a scheming, womanizing member of the Nazi Party. And when he sits down with Ben Kingsley as a Jewish accountant, it's clear that Schindler is a man who gets what he wants.
Let me understand. They'd put up all the money, I'd do all the work. What, if you don't mind my asking, would you do?
I'd make sure it's known the company's in business. I'd see that it had a certain panache. That's what I'm good at, not the work, not the work. The presentation.
At first, Schindler makes his fortune, but then, and who knows why, in the midst of the war, he spends every penny of it saving Jews while dancing in the inner circles of Nazi power.
What are you doing?
What? Scratching my head. Makes them think we have lice. Helps make them keep their distance.
Do you have lice?
You have your notebook.
Schindler's List maintains this breathtaking balancing act over 3 hours and 16 minutes between the worlds of Nazis and Jews and into the concentration camps, where Ralph Fiennes becomes one of the most vivid portraits of evil ever imagined.
What's her name?
Helen Hirsch.
What?
Helen Hirsch.
What? I can't hear.
Helen Hirsch.
Nothing in director Steven Spielberg's work will prepare audiences for this.
Schindler's List doesn't shy from the truth or the horror, which makes it a strong emotional experience, but it is the opposite of depressing. Schindler's List, like Schindler's Life, is an act of inspiration and instantly moves beyond this year's great pictures into the great films of all time. I'm Lucy Mohl, King 5 News. There's a definite smell in the air come springtime, but when it comes to movies, the scent is more fertilizer than flowers. It's all those lousy movies rotting away inside theaters.
Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna run? Where are you gonna hide?
You've seen them and wondered why. All the really bad films that show up like a springtime slump, like a post-Oscar hangover. Real movie buffs and critics have to stick it out, but there are ways to save yourself from the heartbreak of horrible movies. It's time to learn some secrets of the trade.
Police officer, they come!
Number 1, avoid movies that aren't reviewed the day they come out. That's because the studios won't let critics see them in time. And with movies like Cops and Robertsons here, that is the original bad sign. Number 2, beware the big star in the movie you haven't heard about. Meg Ryan in When a Man Loves a Woman, River Phoenix in Silent Tongue. The same rule of thumb applies to directors, like Barry Levinson with Jimmy Hollywood. The names alone may carry you in, but you may need a stretcher to get out.
You touch her again, you're a dead man.
Most importantly, number 3, timing is everything. Bad Girls, the all-female cowboy movie, sounds promising, but when you see it slipping into theaters this time of year, you can be sure the gambling boys in Hollywood are trying to hedge their bets. That pretty much sums up the last rule. Skip spring movies altogether, but remember, there are always exceptions. Right now it's 4 Weddings and a Funeral and The Paper. 2 years ago, it was a scary number called Silence of the Lambs. That went on to win the Oscar for Best Picture. I'm Lucy Mohl, King 5 News. True Lies is one of those oxymoron movie titles, but it makes sense because True Lies is a jumbo shrimp kind of movie, both bigger and smaller than you might expect it to be.
May I see your invitation, please?
Sure. Here's my invitation.
Here we go!
We sure do. Terminator director Jim Cameron starts out on a high and builds his stunts from there. Schwarzenegger plays a top government spy in True Lies, but domestically he's a double agent whose wife, Jamie Lee Curtis, thinks she's married to a dull computer salesman who just happens to look like a former Mr. Universe.
Listen, the plumber called. He says he has to dig under this slab or something that's going to cost $600.
That's okay.
Well, it's not okay. It's extortion.
So what are you telling him?
I slept with him, and he said he'd knock off $100.
That's good thinking. Bye, honey.
It's a ripe idea, but it makes the movie a whirling dervish, serious and jokey at the same time, going hi-ho silver while the future of the free world is supposed to be at stake.
That's a fine animal.
Then the movie veers off and out of control with an extended subplot involving a used car salesman who pretends to be a spy and almost seduces Jamie Lee. It's just an awkward excuse to get her in the thick of the action.
I married Rambo.
On the bright side, Curtis is a stitch, and Schwarzenegger's never looked so comfortable, even when he has to tango. Tom Arnold does a funny turn as his sidekick. Too bad the weak characters are the bad guys, who act like they popped out of cartoons. It all builds to an amazing I don't think so climax where you can see them burning up millions of dollars on the screen. True Lies flashes by but goes on too long. It puts Schwarzenegger back on top doing the same old thing. It's kind of a mess, and it's bound to be a hit. I'm Lucy Mohl, King 5 News.
Prevent me from doing that. I'm delighted that you're doing the program. I simply can't require it. And obviously for you, if you're going to get your life under control, you've got to commit yourself to that. The law doesn't permit me to require it.